Hi, I'm Tom Dixon with A Canine Performance, and today I'd just like to go over our training methods and give you some tips to be successful with training your dog. So let's get started here. First off, we are positive reward-based trainers. What does that mean? That means, we use rewards. And a lot of times, our rewards are treats. Sometimes they're toys, sometimes it's just praise. Most cases, we're using treats. One of the biggest questions we get is how do we get away from using treats? Do I have to keep treats in my pocket at all times for the rest of my dog's life? The answer is no. There are ways that we get past that. First off, this is a bribe. If I say, here, sit, and I hold up a treat every time, that is a bribe. We're showing the dog the treat, and then we're asking them to perform some type of behavior. This is a bribe. This is a lure. We lure, we never bribe. What do I mean by that? We're hiding the treat. I can ask a dog to sit and then give the reward without showing the dog the treat first. Okay, so now we know that we're not supposed to be showing the dog the treat and bribing the dog into things. The other steps that we need to take to get towards that point of not needing treats is also by adding more things for the dog to do before getting one reward. So not just a sit, treat, down, treat, stay, treat, but asking the dog to do multiple things to eventually get one reward. Marshall, sit. Down. Marshall, sit. Leave it. Watch me. Good boy. Good job. Okay, so as you can see there, I told Marshall to do a series of things, and eventually he got that one reward. He wasn't looking at me thinking, but wait, I haven't got my reward yet. He's just thinking in his mind that if I keep doing things, eventually something good's gonna happen. Now, at first, that's a treat. That's some sort of reward. Eventually the reward is, good job, Marshall. And that's all there is to it. And he'll be completely happy with that. And that's the way we get away from needing treats all the time. Okay, so when do we get away from treats? How do we know when we can get away from treats? Every dog is different. Some dogs are going to become more responsive and they're going to be more willing to do what you're asking right out of the gate. Others are going to be a little bit more difficult and you're going to get to it, but I want to tell everyone to make sure to get away from treats as soon as possible, but not too soon. I've definitely been down the road of showing up to a client's house and them saying, hey, you know what, we decided we're not going to use treats for this anymore. And my question is usually, okay, well, how are things going? 9 times out of 10, the answer is not too well. So we're going to go back into using those treats again until we get to a point where we can A, make sure we're not showing the treat, and then we can get multiple things from the dog before we give one reward. And then we know that the dog has gotten to the point where he or she understands the commands and is willing to participate. Okay, so now we're going to talk about markers. What are markers? Markers are a way of marking the behavior, whether it's the correct behavior, the wrong behavior, either or. We're going to mark that behavior. There are different ways to do that. There are key phrases, or there are things like clickers. In our case, we normally use phrases like good boy, good girl, whichever one, or just good, whichever you choose. Letting the dog know good when she sits, or down, or something like that. Letting the dog know, good girl, or good boy. And then immediately following with a reward. Lets the dog know that that marker is showing them that they've done it correct. It's a communication tool. This is a communication tool. Good boy, good girl is a communication tool. It's a way to let the dog know at that one moment when that thing has happened correctly, yes, that's what I wanted you to do. Okay, so now we know what to do to mark the correct behavior. How about marking the wrong behavior? And in this case, we call it a no reward marker. We're still having a marker. Instead of good boy, good girl, we're going to do something along the lines of something along those lines. You want to have a way to let your dog know that that's not what you were supposed to do. So if you ask your dog to sit or down and he or she does not do that, then we're going to And then that gives us the opportunity to start over and try again. And then once we get it, good boy, good girl, bam, there comes our reward, and they know. They'll learn that no reward marker means you've done the wrong thing, let's try again. Okay, now that we have an understanding of treats, how we're going to handle the treats, and things like no reward markers and reward markers and marking the correct behavior, now let's talk about luring. Luring is where we take our treat, no matter the size, we hide that treat. Again, this is a bribe, this is a lure. We lure, we don't bribe. I can't say that enough. So we're gonna use that lure for things like sit and down. We can lure by keeping the dog's nose attached, just like this. Okay, so when we're luring Marshall here, I'm gonna just look at him follow. He doesn't see that treat, he knows that treat. He's gonna follow that thing anywhere it goes. There you go, buddy, good job. So now that we got that down, let's talk about treat size. We get this question a lot. What size treat? I've had some people try to give their dogs a big treat like this every time. But actually, we don't need to do that. Dogs have an understanding of the quantity of the number of treats more than they do the size of the treat. I've got this treat, and I've got these little treats right here. There's more here than there are with these 3 little treats in my hand. But if I give one, then another, and then another, your dog sees that as, I got 3 treats. I did a great job. So that can be used also, things that we call jackpotting. But understand, the smaller the dog, the smaller the treat. There are some dogs that we're going to just break off little tiny pieces of treats. Other dogs we might use more like the training treat size that you'll see in the packages at the stores and things like that. Okay, we've discussed treats. We've discussed the size of the treats. What we haven't discussed is what kind of treats. One of the questions I get all the time, hey, my dog likes your treats better than he likes my treats. What are the treats that you have? Well, I'm just gonna tell you it's very simple. I'm not gonna tell you a specific brand, a specific flavor. It really comes down to what motivates your dog. What is high value to your dog? We're trying to find something high value. In most cases, a milk bone, pretty low value to most dogs. Something like a freeze-dried liver treat, pretty high value to most dogs. In most cases for training treats, if you look at training treats, if you buy a bag of training treats that are labeled that way, they're usually a small treat that is soft and smells really good. Usually I'm looking for soft and stinky. That's usually what I'm looking for. That really depends on what your dog wants. Some dogs really aren't motivated by treats, by dog treats. And sometimes we have to go to some human food. Yes, I know, we can't do that, but we can, a little bit. And when I say that, I mean pieces of like chicken or maybe some cheese or anything like that, like deli meat or something like that along those lines. Hot dog maybe. Definitely try to pick something as healthy as possible. But what we're doing here is we're trying to motivate your dog for a short-term time. But this isn't for a long period of time. We're not going to have to do this forever. Again, we are making sure to get away from treats as soon as possible, not too soon. So those treats might be used now when your dog is younger, I'm assuming, in most cases. But we need to high value enough that your dog is willing to participate and willing to perform until we can get to that point where treats are no longer needed. Okay, that kind of wraps things up right there. So you have a full understanding of the very basics of training. That's about all this video was really for. I wanted you to understand how we train at A Canine Performance and give you those tips that you need to know to be successful in training. Because we're going to train your dog and we're going to train you so that you can work on this between sessions. And that way you have all this you can come back and look at, remembering that we never bribe, we always lure, and things like that. So we look forward to working with you, and let's have some fun.